Good afternoon everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the computer network subject unit 5, that is application layer. Okay. So in this application layer we have discussed some topics in the previous video classes. Now I am going to continue the topic from FTP. Today my topic is FTP. So what is mean by FTP? So FTP is nothing but file transfer protocol. So what is mean by FTP ma? FTP means file transfer protocol. So it is FTP is the standard protocol provided by the TCP IP for copying a file from one host to another. So why we are using FTP? FTP is nothing but full form file transfer protocol. So this protocol, this is a standard protocol. Why we are using? Where we are using in TCP. So this is a standard protocol provided by. So whom it is provided by? This FTP TCP IP is provided. Why it is provided means in order to copy the file from one host to another host. So although the transferring files from one system to another seems simple and straightforward, some problems must be dealt with first. Okay, so we can transfer the files. Okay, we can transfer the files using the HTTP. FTP is the better choice to transfer the large files or to transfer the files using different formats. So in this FTP is provided by the TCP IP in order to copying the files from one host to the another host. So it is very easy format for transferring the files from one system to another, like a straightforward and simple way, and some problems will be occurred that dealt with first. Okay, so we are for transferring the files we are using some better things, that is HTTP and FTTP choice to transfer the large files or transfer the files using different formats. The control different formats. So the basic okay, different formats. So the basic model of FTP, the client has three components. The basic components of the FTP, the client has three components. Okay, so the user interface. Okay, first one is a user interface, the client protocol process and the client data transfer process. The server has two components, the server control process and server data transfers. So in this we are having the at the client side we are having the three components. One is user interface, client control process and client data transfer process at the client side. At the server side we are having two components, that is server control process and server data transfer process. Okay, so the control connection, here the control connection is made between the control process, the data connection is made between the data transfer process. Separation of commands and the data transfer makes FTTP more efficient. Okay, so I having the diagram here. This is the diagram of the FTP. I having the here user interface. This is the client side and this is the server side. At the left side we are having the client, at the right side we are having the server. So we told that in the client we are having the three components. One is user interface, control process and data transfer process. At the server side we are having the two components, that is control process and data transfer process. Okay, so what we are doing for control process in the client side and server side control process, we are providing the control connection. At data transfer process and data transfer process at the client and server we are providing the data connection. Okay, so we are having some local files here and this is the remote file systems. Okay, so here two connections, we are having the two connections here. Okay, the two connections in FTP have different lifetimes. Okay, we are having the two connections in FTP that has different lifetimes. The control connection, what is mean by control connection? The control connection remains connected during the entire interactive FTP session. Okay, the data connection is opened and then closed for each file transfer activity. Okay, so the FTP uses two well-known TCP ports, that is port 21 is used for control the connection and port 20 is used for controlling the data connection. Okay, so what is mean by control connection here? So the FTP uses the same approach as SMTP. the SMTP to communicate across the control connections. It uses the 7-bit ASCII. It uses the 7-bit ASCII character set. Communication is achieved through the commands and response. So this simple method is advocate for the control connection, because we send one command or a response at a time. Each command or response is only one short line, so we need not worry about the file format or file structure. Each line is terminated with the 2 characters, that is carriage return and line feed end of lines token. Okay, this is the diagram of the FTP, file transfer protocol. So next, coming to, this is the diagram of the control connection. Okay, so in the control connection we are having the control process at the server side, client side, and control process at server side. So in this control process of the client side, we are having the local code, and in the clients and in this server side we are having the control process. We are also having this local code. Between that we are having the control connection. Okay, so between that control connection, what we are using? ASCII character, 7-bit ASCII character we are using for communication is achieved through the commands or response. So this simple method is called the control connection. Okay, so whatever the request or response we are sending, that can be a command forms. Okay, and data connection. So what is the data connection? The purpose of the data connection is different from that of the control connection. So we are having the control connection and data connection. This data connection is very completely different from the control connection. Okay, so in this we want to transfer the files through the data connection, and file transfer occurs through the over the data connection under the control of commands sent over the control connection. So what is mean by data connection, ma? So this data connection is completely different from the control connection. So this purpose is we want to transfer the files. We want to transfer the files through the data connection. File transfer occurs over the data connection under the control of commands sent over the control connection. So we should remember that file transfer in FTP means one of the 3 things. One is a file is to be copied from the server to the client. This is called the retrieving. After it is done under the supervision of the re-enter command. Okay, and next one is file is copied from the client to the server. This is called the storing. Okay, if it is done under the supervision of the store command. Okay, next, third one is the file is copied, the list of the directory or file names is to be sent from the server to the client. This is done under the supervision of the list command. Note that the FTP treats the list of directory or file names as a file. It is sent over the data connection. So these are the three things which is happen in the FTP. So the client must be defined the type of file transferred, the structure of the data, and the transmission mode. Before sending the file, the data connection, we will prepare the transmission to the control connection. So the heterogeneity problem is resolved by defining 3 attributes of communication. One is file type, data structure, and transmission mode. So we having the small image of the data connection. This is the data connection image. In this we are having the local data type and structure at the client side, and at the server side we are also having the local data type and structure, and middle client and server we are having the data transfer process. Okay, so we told that between the in this data connection we having 3 attributes, that is a file type, data structure, and transmission mode. Okay, so what is meant by file type? If FTP can transfer one of the following file type across the data connection, So an ASCII file, that is that ASCII file is called the EBCDIC file or image file. Okay, the ASCII file is default format for transferring text files. Each character is encoded using 7-bit ASCII. Okay, the sender transforms the file from its own representation into ASCII characters, and the receiver transforms the ASCII character to its own representation if one or both ends of the connection uses the encoding file format used by IBM. The file can be transformed using the encoding. This image is to default format for transferring binary files. So the file is sent as continuous streams of bits without any interpretation or encoding. So this is mostly used to transfer the binary files such as compiled programs. This is called the file type. Next, the second one is the data structure. So what is mean by data structure? FTP can transfer a file across the data connection by using one of the following interpretations about the structure of the data: the file structure, record structure, and page structure. So in the file structure format, the file is a continuous stream of type, file. In a record structure, the file is divided into records, and the file is divided into records. This can be used only with the text files. In the page structure, the file is divided into pages with each data. So now coming to email. So electronic mail. The electronic mail allows the user to exchange the messages between the two agents. So the nature of this application is different from the applications which is used before. So in an application we are using some HTTP or FTP. The server program is running all the time waiting for the request from the client. So when the request arrives from the client, the server provides the service to the client. There is a request and there is a response between the two devices. In this case, the electronic mail has some situations is different. So first situation is first email is to considered in one-way transaction. When host 1 and I mean Elisa sends an email to Bob, she may accept a response, but this is not for the mandate. So Bob may or may not respond. So it is if he does response, it is another way of transaction. So this is the first one. And second second situation is it is neither feasible nor logical for Bob to run a server program and wait until someone sends an email to him. So Bob may turn off his computer when he is not using it. So these are the two situations which is occurred in the email. So we are having the architecture of the email. So in this architecture we are having the 4 scenarios. So in this we begin with the simplest situation and add the complexity as we proceed. The these 4 scenarios is most common in the exchanging of email. That is first scenario is called the when the sender and the receiver of the email are on the same mail server, we need only 2 user agents. So if you see the diagram, can understand. So this is the first scenario. In this we are having the Elisa and Bob. Between the 2 agents, I am using the only one single mail server. So here I am having the user agent 1 and user agent 2, and between the 2 user agents we are going to communicate with each other, and we are transferring the messages using the simple mail server. Okay. So this is the first scenario. In the second scenario, when the sender and the receiver of an email are on different mail servers, we need 2 user agents and 2 pair of message transfer agents. Okay, that is client and server. So this is different from first one, and here we are having the two user agents and two mail servers. So between the internet and the Alisa, we are using the mail server, and between the internet and Bob, we are using the another mail server. We are sending the, if you want to send the request, the request will be came from the user agent, and it will be moved to the spool. Okay, and spool means it is a queue, and the information is sent to the message transfer agent client, and it will be passes to the internet, and the internet will be through the internet the information will be reached at the message transfer agent at the server side, and again it will be moved to the boxes of the queue, and it will be transfer the data to the another user agent, that is Bob. This like the communication and transfer of the data message will be occurred. This is the second scenario. So in the third scenario, when the sender is connected to the mail server, and that is LAN and WAN, we need two user agents and two pairs of message transfer agents, that is client and server. So if you see this diagram, having the two user agents, that is Alisa and Bob, and between the mail server we also maintain the two mail servers. Between the Alisa and mail server, we are maintaining the LAN and WAN, and between the two mail servers I am using the internet. After mail server and the Bob, we are doesn't use any LAN and WAN. Okay, so this like the data will be transmitted. So the user agent sends the data to the message transfer agent client, that moves to the message transfer agent server, and again it will be stored into the queue, and it will be moves to the message transfer client, transfer agent client. Again it passes to the internet, again it moves to the mails message transfer agent server, and it will be copied into the boxes, and again it transfers to the user agent. This like the communication will be occurred in the third scenario. Next, fourth scenario, when both the sender and the receiver are connected to the mail server, that is LAN and WAN. So in the previous third scenario, we are using the LAN and WAN at the client side only. We doesn't use any LAN and WAN at the server side. So here in the fourth scenario, we are maintaining the both LAN and WAN at both sides of the client and server. So we need two user agents, same as two pairs of message transfer agents, and extra we are taking two message access agents between these two agents, user agents. And here also same the transmission will be occurred, but at the server side we are using the message transfer server and message transfer client, sorry, message access access agent client. Okay, so this is the fourth scenario. Okay, next coming to, so in this we are having the common scenario, that is sender and the receiver in the email. Alisa and Bob respectively are connected via LAN and WAN, two email servers. The administrator has created a queue, that is a spool, to store the message waiting to be sent. A simple email from Alisa to Bob takes 9 different steps. So first step, we told that we have 9 different steps. So whatever the 4 scenarios we have discussed, so we have followed some steps. That steps is called these 9 steps. Alisa and Bob uses 3 different agents, that is a user agent and message transfer agent and message access agent. And in the second step, we are sending the message to Bob. She runs a user agent program to prepare a message and send it to her mail server. Again in the third step, the mail server at her site uses a queue, that is a spool, to store the message waiting to be sent. Okay, and the message is sent through the internet from the Alice's site to Bob's site using the message transfer agent. And in the fifth step, two message transfer agents are needed, one client and one server. In the sixth step, the client server programs on the internet. The server needs to run all the time because it does not know when the client will ask for a connection. So in the seventh step, the client on the other hand, it triggered by the system when there is a message in a queue to be sent. The user agent at the Bob side allows Bob to read the received message from the client, and Bob later uses the message access agent client to retrieve the messages from an message access agent server running on the second server. So, these are the 9 steps we are going to follow in these 4 scenarios. Next, the next one is a user agent. First component of the electronic mail system is the user agent. It provides the service to the user to make the process and sending and receiving the message very easy. So, this is called the user agent. In next we having the services provided by a user agent. So, a user agent is a software package program that composes, reads, replies and forwards the messages, and it also handles mailboxes. We have some services in the typical user agent, and having the small diagram regarding this service provided by the user agent. This is the diagram. We are having the user agent and composing messages, reading messages, replying to messages, forwarding messages, handling mailboxes. So, these are the different things available in the user agent. Okay, service. These are the services provided by the user agent. First one is a composing messages. What is mean by composing messages? A user agent helps the user to compose the email message to be sent out. Most user agents provided a template on the screen to be filled in the by the user. Some even have a built-in editor that can do spell checking, grammar checking and other tasks expected from the sophisticated word processor. A user could alternatively use his or her favorite text editor or word processor to create a message and import it, and it cut or paste cut and paste it into the user agent template. Okay. So, reading messages. The second duty of the user agent is to read the incoming messages. When the user invokes the user agent, if first it checks the mail in the incoming mailbox, most user agents show one line summary of each received mail. Each mail contains the following fields, that is a number field. So, that is a number field, a flag field that shows the status of the mail, such as new, already read but not replied to, or read or replied to. So, the size of the message, the sender and the optional subject field. So, these are the different fields contains in the email. Next service provided by the user agent is replying to message. So, after reading a message, a user can use the user agent to reply to a message. A user agent is usually allows the user to reply to the original sender or reply to all the recipients of the message. The reply message may contain the original message or reference of the message and a new message. Okay. And next is a forwarding message. So, what is mean by forwarding message? So, reply is defined as sending a message to the sender or recipients of the copy. Forwarding is defined as sending the message to the third party. So, that is called forwarding message. Next we are having the reply. Handling mailboxes. So, a user agent normally creates 2 mailboxes, an inbox and an outbox. Each box is a file with a special format that can be handled by the user agent. The inbox keeps all the received emails until they are deleted by the user. So, this is called handling mailboxes. Next, user agent types. So, there are 2 types of user agents, command driven and graphical user interface based. So, what is first one is command driven. So, command driven are agents belongs to the early days of the electronic mail. They are still present as the underlying user agents in servers. A command driven user agents normally accepts a one character command from the keyboard to perform its task. For example, a user can type a character at the command prompt to reply to the sender of a message, or type of character or to reply to the sender and all the recipients. Some examples of the command driven user agents are mail, pain, or and email. Okay. Next, graphical user interface based. So in this it is nothing but modem user agents or graphical user interface based. They contain graphical user interface components that allows the user to interact with the software by using both the keyboard and mouse. They have graphical components such as icons, menu bars, and windows that make the services easy to access. Some examples of graphical user interface based user agents are Eudora, Microsoft's Outlook, and Netscape. So these are the examples of the graphical user interface based. Next one is sending mail. Sending mail. So to send a mail, the user and user agent creates a mail that looks very similar to the postal mail. It has envelopes and a message. So envelopes is nothing but usually contains the sender and the receiver addresses, and message is nothing but a message contains the header and body. The header of the message defines the sender, and the receiver the subject of the message, and some other information such as encoding type. As we seen shortly, the body of the message contains the actual information to be read by the recipient. So this is called the sending mail. Next, receiving mail. So there the user agent is triggered by the user or a timer. If the user has mail, it informs to the user with a notice. If the user is ready to read the mail, the list is displayed in which each line contains a summary of information about the particular message in the mailbox. In this, user can select any messages and display the content on the screen. So this is the next one is the address. So to deliver mail, a mail handling system must uses addressing system with unique addresses. So this is the diagram we are having. This is the local port and this is the domain name. So in this we are having the address of the mailbox on the mail server, in the domain name of the mail server. So this is the email address of the next local port. So what is mean by local port? So in this diagram we are having the local port and domain name. So what is mean by local part, not port, and the local part defines the name of the special files called the user mailbox, where all the mail received from the user is stored for retrieval by message to access the agent. So this is called the local port. Next we are having the domain name in this diagram. So the second part of the address is the domain name. The organization usually selects one or more hosts to receive and send email. The hosts are sometimes called mail servers and exchangers. So this is called the domain name. Next, mailing list. So in electronic mail, it allows one name and aliases and to represent the several different email addresses. This is called a mailing list. If there is a mailing list for a defined aliases, separate messages, one for each entry in the list, must be prepared and handled to the message transfer agent. So this is called mailing list. Next, MIME. So what is mean by MIME? So multi-purpose internet mail extension. So it is the full form, multi-purpose internet mail extension. So So this electronic mail has a simple structure. So multipurpose internet mail extension is a supplementary protocol that allows non-ASCII characters data to be sent through the email. So MIME transforms non-ASCII data at the sender side to ASCII data and delivers them to the client message transfer agent to be sent through the internet. The message at the receiving side is transferred back to the original data. Okay, next having the diagram of the MIME. So this is the diagram. In this we are having the user 1 and user 2 here. Here having the user agent and MIME and message transfer agent. At the user 2 also same agents we are using, user agent, MIME and message transfer agent. Between that message transfer agent I am using the 7-bit ASCII character, and between user agent and MIME I doesn't maintain any non-ASCII code, and between message transfer agent and MIME I am using the 7-bit ASCII character. So this like the data will be transferred between the MIME. Okay, so MIME defines the 5 headers that can be added to the original email header section to define the transmission of parameters. So first one is a MIME version, content type, content transfer encoding, content ID, content description. So this is the it shows the MIME headers. So this is the another header diagram of the MIME. So in this diagram I am having the email body, and between that email body and email header I am using some versions, that is MIME version 1.1 and content type, that is type subtype, content transfer encoding, that is encoding type, and content ID, that is message ID, and content description, that is textual explanations of the non-textual content. So these are the different things we are going to maintain in the MIME header. Okay, so this is the MIME headers. Okay, and having the table. So this is the data type and the subtype of the MIME. So I told that we having the content type. Content type is nothing but this type defines type of the data used in the body of the message, and that content type and the content subtype, and separated by the slash. Depending on the subtype, the header may contains other parameters. Okay, this is the example here, and content hyphen type, and this is the syntax which we have considered here. So type and subtype, this is the slash, and semicolon parameters. Okay, so this is the table, and in this we having the type, subtype, description. So text, multipart, message, image, video, audio applications. These are the different types we are having. So for every type we are using the subtype, that is for text we are using the HTML, plain text. In the multipart we are using mixed, parallel, and alternative. In the message we are using the external body, partial. In the image we are JPEG and MPEG. These are the different things. For video we are using the MPEG. Okay, so for audio basic applications we are using the PostScript. Okay, these are the different subtypes we are using maintaining for the type. So these are the descriptions of this subtype. So next, content transfer encoding. So what is mean by content transfer encoding? So in this header, now only we see the diagram. In this diagram having the header, that header defines the method used to encode the message into zeros and ones for transport. Okay, this is the syntax which we have used here, the content hyphen transfer hyphen encoding, and this is the type which we are going to use. So this is a table of the content transfer encoding. So we are having the different types here and description. We are maintaining the 7-bit, 8-bit, like binary, base 64. So these are the different types we are using. This is the explanation of the description. Okay, and next we are having the content ID. So in this content ID, now only we have seen in this syntax content ID we are maintaining. So the header uniquely identifies the whole message in a multiple message environment, and this is the format syntax for the format, that is content hyphen ID, colon id comment content hyphen id. So okay, this is the syntax, and content description is nothing but this header defines whether the body is image, audio or video. So this is the content hyphen description colon description. This is the syntax of the content description. So next having the message transfer agent, that is called SMTP. Okay. So the actual mail, here having the actual mail transfer is done through the message transfer agents. So to send the mail, a system must have the client message transfer agent, and receives mail to system and must have the server message transfer agent. The formal protocols, we having the formal protocols here. So in this formal protocols that defines the message transfer agent, client and server in the internet is called the simple mail transfer protocol. Okay. So this is the diagram we are having. So in this diagram, so this is the simple SMTP diagram. So in this diagram we having the SMTP. So SMTP used two times between the sender and the sender's mail server, and between the two mail servers. SMTP means now only I told the simple mail transfer protocol. So this SMTP simply defines how commands and responses must be sent back and forth. Each network is free to choose a software package for implementation. So command and response is nothing but SMTP uses commands and a response to transfer message between an message transfer agent, client and message transfer agent server. Okay. So this is the diagram. Sender and the receiver are having. Between the sender and the mail server and receiver and the mail server, I am using the LAN and WAN, and SMTP is now only told that simple mail transfer protocol. I am transferring the mail, transferring the request to the receiver through the mail server, LAN and WAN through the mail server. Again I am using the internet. Again I am sending that received at the mail server, and it reaches to the receiver. Okay. This is the communication. The SMTP commands and response. This is the diagram of the command and response. This is the MTA, message transfer agent client and message transfer agent server. Between that two client and server, I am sending the commands and I am getting the response. Okay. So this is the diagram of the command and response. Next, it contains a keyword allowed by the 0 or more arguments. SMTP defines 14 commands. Okay. The first 5 are mandatory. Every implementation must support these 5 commands. So next 3 are often used and highly recommended. The last 6 are seldom used. Okay. So this is the key argument. This is the command format, and I have the table, that is list of the commands. This is the table: hello, mail from, data, quit, reset, verify, turn. These are the different help. Okay. Send from. Okay. These are the different keywords we are having. These are the arguments. Okay. So this is the commands which is listed here. And next having the response are sent from the server to the client, and response is a 3-digit code that may be followed by the additional textual information. So this is the response table. So having the code here 211, 214, 220, these are the code, and this is the positive completion reply, system status or help reply, and help message. These are the code, and for the code, every code I having the description. Okay. So this is the explanation of this code. And next having the mail transfer phase. The process of transferring a mail message occurring in 3 phases, that is connection establishment, mail transfer and connection termination. So this is the mail transfer phase. Next message access agent, that is POP and IMAP. The first and second stage of the mail delivery uses SMTP. So SMTP is not involved in the third stage because SMTP is a push protocol. It pushes the messages from the client to the server. So currently 2 messages access protocols are available: post office protocol version 3, that is POP3, and internet mail access protocol, that is version 4, IMAP4. Okay. So I have the diagram in this. This is the diagram of the POP3 and IMAP4. So same diagram now only we have seen in the SMTP, that is having the sender and the receiver. So aliases and Bob, and between the two mail servers and aliases sender and aliases Bob receiver, we are using the LAN and MAN. Okay, so here I am using the at the server side I am using the POP3 and IMAP4. Okay, so these are the two message access devices I am maintaining, message access agents we are using at the Bob side, I mean receiver side. Okay, and POP3 is nothing but POP3. What is mean by POP3? So POP3 is nothing but Post Office Protocol version 3 is a simple but limited in functionality. The client POP3 software is installed on the recipient computers. The server POP3 software is installed on the mail server. The mail access starts with the client. When the user needs to download its email from the mailbox on the mail server, the client opens a connection to the server on TCP port 110. It sends a username and the password to access the mailbox. So the user can list and retrieve the mail message one by one. So that is called the POP3. And next IMAP4. IMAP4 means full form Internet Mail Access Protocol version 4. So it is similar to POP3, but it has more features than POP3. IMAP4 is more powerful and more complex. So POP3 is deficient in several ways. It does not allow the user organize her mail on the server. The user cannot have different folders on the server. The POP3 does not have the user to partially check the content of the mail before downloading. So in this IMAP4 provides the following extra functions, that is user can check the email header for downloading. The user can search for the content of the email for specific string of characters to downloading. A user can partially download email. This is especially useful if bandwidth is limited, and email contains multimedia with high bandwidth requirements, and the user can create, delete or rename mailboxes on the email server. The user can create a hierarchy of mailboxes in a folder for email storage. So these are the different extra steps we are going to maintain in the IMAP4. Okay, so thank you. In the next class we will discuss about the telnet.